So thank you for joining us today. My name is Michael Roberts. I'm one of the practice managers at BOOTCAMP Analytics. And today we'll be talking about social media analytics. Regular social and then discuss options. BOOTCAMP as a firm started out life primarily as a development firm in the mid-90s, and originally by a request from clients and built data warehouses and BI solutions. And to this day, those clients are core of our business. But over time, we've had to add additional skills to our data engineering and strategies and vendor partnerships we picked up along the way are the ones that seem to work the best in real life. Or what we will be sharing today. So first, I'm just going to cover who the session is for. So this is an informational session for people that have an interest in social media analytics. We're going to cover various platforms, some background information, and strategies for getting access to your information, how to manage it, and then how to analyze it to make sense of the information. In terms of the agenda, number of people that are part of them, some of the differences between the platforms, the kind of people that you would find using them. We'll look at different ways to analyze the information, and then we'll do a bit of a demo. In this case, we're going to pull in some of our LinkedIn campaign data. We're going to use one of the companies. There are several that you can pick from, but in this case, we'll use Supermetrics, which provides a bridge between the various social media platforms and whatever tool or data warehouse that you want. In this case, we'll pump the data over to Power BI and create some visualizations there. Okay, so the first thing we should talk about is search versus social. There is a bit of a difference. So in the beginning, we had online advertising, and the key feature here was a paid search. So it's often referred to as a pay-per-click type of advertising approach. It's very common and effective, and the idea is to come up with keywords that are very highly correlated to the business that you're in, so it will match what the search criteria are that the user has typed in, and then display the ad at the right time to the right visitor. Now, to make this system fair, there's an auction system that is based on the keywords and phrases that makes the various text-based ads or visual ads appear to the users. And this provides a way of smaller companies with smaller budgets to compete with larger firms. So here's an example. I went to Google and I typed in a new Toyota, and Google's, as you can see in green, has come up with a couple of different ads, one from Toyota itself, and then there's one that's close to me, so it's figured out where I am, and to show me another ad, maybe some specials and things like that. So this is classic paid search type advertising. Now, paid social is a little bit different, kind of transform the internet advertising, and it's taking the next step. So if you look at the how adults use the internet, by far, in a way, social networking is the most popular activity and largest use of their time. So advertisers can search for users through hundreds of different parameters based on demographics and social behavior, and come up with much more granular advertising. So on the right of the screen here, you can see a snapshot from Google, and you can see that we're targeting, based on the platform the person has or their interest in particular topics. So if we look at online advertising, there are some components in terms of the ads. There are text-based ads, there are banners, there are landing pages. There's sponsored content, like you saw with Toyota and Woodbine wanted me to go there and look at their vehicles. These can be tied back to email marketing and remarketing too. So in case I don't buy something on Toyota's page, maybe later if I go to Auto Trader, something like that, another ad will follow me there and kind of redirect me back to the e-commerce site where I might be interested in looking at one of the vehicles. In terms of the key member activity that we're trying to track, we look at things like shares and likes, mentions, how many impressions have been made, clicks, and of course, followers and subscribers, which are often referred to as kind of vanity metrics. because they don't necessarily correspond to the next metric, which are purchases and conversions. In terms of the types of roles, people that might have an interest in online advertising, there's often a social media content planner who will look at the correct keywords and do competitive research. We'll have social content itself, images and graphics and how-to guides. Basically, the idea here is to offer something of value to your audience. Someone that's responsible for the brand image, making sure it's consistent across all the different platforms, and so on. So you've got content promotion, how to get new content to existing followers and subscribers, issue management. There's been a lot of snafus with social media marketing. Sometimes things don't work out the way that we want, and there should be a plan in place if that does happen. List management and remarketing. So let's take a look at some of the leading social media platforms just to kind of get a sense of which ones are commonly used and their volumes. So if you look at all the different platforms available, and there are many, the ones that sort of dominate the landscape today are Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. There's a bunch of others too, but they sort of all fight for fifth place. Those are the major ones that we often see used in business. By 33% of all internet users in the world have a Facebook account, and there are about 700 million daily users. There are all kinds of different options for advertising, the sales promotions of local stores, inline ads, events, sponsor pages, which can be later updates from just a large and complicated audience. As an advertiser, I can look at the person's location, their gender, their likes and interests, relationships, workplace, and things like their education. So there are a number of different demographics and behavior-based attributes that I can pick from and to decide whether or not I should display that particular ad to that particular user. So in terms of pros, Facebook is flexible and it has a massive audience. The con would be that it can be expensive for small businesses. So here's an example of one of the Facebook ads for DataRobot, which is one of the firms that we work with. This popped up in my feed. I guess it knows, I work for an analytics firm and thought that DataRobot has targeted me for this particular ad. So the keys to success are not to try and reach everyone. Not everyone will have an interest in this particular topic. So they need to target the advertisements carefully, catering to their core audience. And if you look at this ad and then tie it back to the landing page and DataRobot's primary website, and even their product branding, everything is completely consistent and also tied back to their search engine strategy. Twitter is another leading platform with about 300 million active users, primarily on mobile devices. The ad formats are a little simpler than Facebook. Basically, they're promoted tweets, which are mixed in with the other tweets that I might get from people that I follow, or they can be a promoted account that I can follow too for a particular brand. In terms of targeting people as an advertiser, I can look at who they follow. I can use keywords that they might be searching on and their interests, which is quite a list of topics. So there's about 300 different things. Again, and some demographic information like their location, gender, language, and what kind of a device are they using. So pros are that it's very effective for viral social media advertising and kind of the equivalent of the text ads in Google search. Although some people love Twitter and some people hate it, it certainly can be very effective for getting messages out. In terms of the cons, it can be basically, it can also get quite expensive. Interestingly, Twitter is growing internationally. If you look at the 6 million users that were added in Q1 of 2018, only about 1 million of those were in the US. So if you're looking for international opportunities to advertise to users, Twitter is an interesting choice. So on the right side of the screen, we have a typical kind of a Twitter ad. In this case, I can follow this particular advertiser, tell us business if I want. There's hashtags and links that I can go and investigate for, in this case, productivity tools or service plans. LinkedIn is another interesting one to take a look at, and the one that we'll be using in our example later today, with about 300 million users, and it is growing worldwide. Similar to Twitter, it has sponsored updates and links to display ads. In terms of targeting people, I can look at their job title, their function, industry, that kind of stuff. The companies as well, the size, the industry that they're in, the person's seniority, and other membership in groups that they may be part of. In terms of pros, this is a good way for businesses to connect with employees of other companies that might need their services. And again, cons are on a cost per click basis, it can be expensive compared to some of the other platforms. So here's an example of some of the typical advertising that you would see on Twitter. So on the right, you can see at the top, they've got a report on security. So again, they've kind of looked at my membership and my background, and they see that the internet security is something that's of interest to me. Again, their marketing in this case, Infinity QS in terms of quality management and process control charts. And then there are some promoted tweets and promoted pages on the right side there. So it can be very effective for business to business, and it's actually a chosen platform for many different business leaders. In terms of the trends in these different platforms over time, at the top you can see Facebook, and this was data from 2015 through to 2018. You can see that Facebook, although it's still the leader and the largest, is somewhat in a state of a mild decline. YouTube, on the other hand, has been steadily growing and is an interesting advertising platform. And then beneath that we have Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and Instagram, and you can sort of see the trends and the other ones over time. Now, just to kind of get a sense of the activity, I found this online and I thought it was of interest. So this is a page that sort of shows the amount of activity in these social media spaces. So if we go down here and look at, I've been on this page for 7 seconds, 8 seconds. So if you look at the number of YouTube videos that have been viewed, there's like, in that amount of time, there've been 1 million videos viewed. There's been over 150,000 tweets. And if you look at the amount of traffic on Instagram, you can see there's been 20,000 photos uploaded. And then there's been about 600 or 700,000 likes. So you can see the content is growing incredibly rapidly. And every one of these interactions is an opportunity for advertisers to connect with potential customers, to hopefully sell them something of interest or value to them through targeted marketing. If we go down here, we can see there's been 8,000 searches in LinkedIn and so on and so forth. So this is an interesting site, and for those of you that are interested, you can get a copy of these slides afterwards, and the links are all embedded in there. So in terms of accessing and analyzing your social media data, we take a look at some of our options. So in terms of the key steps, the first thing is connecting to the data. These social media providers almost uniformly provide access to their data via an API, or in some cases through some sort of a file transfer. But APIs in a JSON format are by far and away the most popular in today's market. Once you have access to the data, the next thing will be to decide how you wish to store it. Some applications like Power BI and others can cache information and can kind of can store it locally in some sort of compressed cube. Or you may want to store the information to integrate it with other sources, in which case it's better to put that data that you've pulled from the social media platforms into a database. So there's a couple of options there. And in terms of analytics, usually you're looking at dashboards that show activity, cost, customers, and then the effectiveness of your various campaigns. So here we've got a peek at our LinkedIn Campaign Manager. We'll be looking at LinkedIn in the next couple of examples. So you can see we've created these various campaigns and then have set up a little budget for them and are measuring the effectiveness of them. So let's say that I wanted to gain access to this information. One option would be to write the connectors myself. So if I click on the REST API session, right now you can see that there's a LinkedIn page that, or the LinkedIn page shows up, and it gives me the connection information for the API itself. So to make sense of this, I'll have to have a bit of a technical background, but it is well explained, and many different examples are provided. And on this page, we also have links to Twitter's developer page. I can go here, and they will do the same thing, kind of explain like how the tweets can be accessed, how the ads can be curated, how much history, terms of use, and again, there's plenty of examples, including automatic publishing of tweets to the system if I'm so inclined. So certainly one option is to kind of write everything myself. In many cases, companies are finding that to be maybe problematic or time-consuming. So there are firms that will specialize in creating the connectors and reselling that knowledge to the public. So this is not a definitive list. These are just 3 that we've seen our clients using, and I've listed them here. They offer connections to the most common sources. They match the schema. So if I go and write my own connectors using the APIs where I use the system, I'll get the same information. We'll look at the history that they can access, and the methods that you can use to pull the data down. So this one offers file push, or it can write out to a data warehouse, and so on. So, so these firms and their connections and pricing and everything else change frequently, and this list isn't exclusive, and it's just provided as an illustration. But these are 3 commonly used ones that may be of interest. So again, if we go to the Supermetrics page as an example, they will list all of their products. If you look here, there's Supermetrics for Google Sheets, Data Studio, the API, which I'll be using for Excel, and Funnel and Improvato are kind of the same. If you click on these sites, you can usually get some sort of an offer to use it for on a trial basis to see how it works and how it suits your needs. So in terms of the pricing of these systems, although they will vary, they typically are, for Supermetrics, something around, in this case, $126 to $382 a month for the subscription. And then that will determine how many different members can use it. In this case, it's 3, or how many ad accounts I can have, the data sources, and so on and so forth. So this is the month-to-month pricing. There are discounts available for larger annual purchases, and again, it's just provided as an illustration. In terms of the connectors, Supermetrics in particular, again, there's a 14-day trial or get a quote. They have sort of a couple of different options as to most of the providers. They can write information out to a database, and this can be an on-premise database or a cloud-based database in Azure or AWS or other platforms, or they have an option to link directly into a BI tool or visualization tool. So if you use Power BI, Click, and Tableau, which are some of the most common tools, then the system can push the information directly from Supermetrics over to the tools. And these tools all offer some sort of a cube-based summarization option. So if you push data over to Power BI, for example, you can store it there. You don't have to push the data out to a database first and then down to one of these tools. You can actually sidestep that process if you want. So in terms of the way these work is you would connect to a source. So in this case, we've connected to Facebook. We've picked one of our accounts in case we have multiple. You pick either a literal date, say 2019, or you can pick some sort of a rolling period like X number of weeks. And you pick the metrics that you're interested in. Number of impressions, costs, things of that nature, and then how you split the information. So for example, you might want to split it out by campaign, or you might want to split it out by page or other factors. And that determines like the number of rows that you'll be getting back from the system. And then over here, you can specify the target, whether it's Supermetrics, meaning it will be really like writing out to a database, Tableau, Click, or Power BI. And then once these URLs are formed, the way it works is the application will connect to Supermetrics, which in turn connects to the social media supplier data source and acts as a bridge between the two things. In terms of data sources, you can see that there's a vast range that are supported. In this case, I'm looking at the LinkedIn ads. That will be the first step, is to pick the data source. The second is to pick the date In this case, I'm picking from the beginning of last year to the current. In terms of the metrics, there's a wide range of metrics that wouldn't maybe have been visible just from the LinkedIn Campaign Manager. I can look at the number of impressions and the clicks and the cost per click, the total amount spent. I can look at social actions, likes, comments, follows, things of that nature, in-mail that it's generated, and the number of leads. The next step is, again, is how we're going to split the information up. So a common one is by time. I can split it up by year if I want something that's very summarized, year and month, or I can go down to the day if I want to see exactly how things are performing on a given day. I can pick out information about my campaigns. If there's creative tags that have been added, like a style and type and such, I can get that. And then there's some very useful demographics about the company size, what kind of industry they're in, their seniority. So I can kind of see not just how the campaign is doing, but also who's looking at it. Am I getting lots and lots of impressions, but they're all very junior people? Or am I getting lots and lots of impressions and they're all from large companies that I might be interested in working with? So here's an example of like a Power BI dashboard. This one was put together one of our consultants. So once you have access to the information, you can go through and grab, say, the number of campaigns, clicks, impressions, and figure out different ways of presenting it. So here I can see the number of different campaigns, social actions over time. I can see there's a general increase in the way that we've been marketing through LinkedIn, number of clicks, or maybe you want to show cumulative spend over time. I can look at what was spent on particular campaigns. We sort of cap them at a certain amount per event. Or I can look at the other oil and energy, members, people in IT, people in government and financial services, but not so much in tobacco, supermarkets, and the veterinary. They don't have as much interest in the types of things that we're offering out of product. It's kind of the types of things that or the steps you would go through to see how this works firsthand. So I'm going to go into supermetrics.com. I go into their tools, and that will sign me in to the API component. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go in and pick my various accounts. So I'm going to go and pick all my accounts. I'm going to go pick my dates. So I'll start in, say, 2019. That's fine. January. I'm going to select my metrics. So maybe I want impressions, and I want to get my total spend as metrics. And then in terms of social actions, maybe things like shares are of interest to me, and so on. That's good. And then I'm going to split this information out. So these are the metrics I'm interested in. And then in terms of the way to split it into rows, I want the year and the month. I'm interested in the campaign name, and then I want to get, that's probably good. So the year, the month, and the campaign name. So once I've picked this out, I can run a query to see if it's working correctly. So right now, Supermetrics is going to go back and pull the information. Year to date. So we go 2019. Pull the information back to the from the social media provider into Supermetrics itself. So once this is done, I can go through. I can add these links into Power BI. So here we have our campaigns, things like demographics, so forth, and the various dates. Go through and put this information into a dashboard and start to organize it according to my business requirements. So for example, I could pull in my actions over time, clicks over time, impressions over time. Here I've got a page on my various demographics. So go back to my deck. So So in really quite just a few quick steps, you can go from pulling information from your social media provider through a provider like Supermetrics and then down into Power BI. So if this is something that you're interested in, then please reach out to our marketing team. We have an analytics bootcamp that can go through not just how to gain the information, but also how to use data science to analyze it, to segment the information. We have a number of different courses that can help you develop Azure solutions, whether it be the infrastructure or security or how to administrate those systems. And we also have a dashboard in a day offering. So if you're interested in having one of our instructors come out to your site to help you build a dashboard, that's something that you can discuss with our sales team and see if it's something that we can potentially set up. So I think that is everything we wanted to cover for today's session. So I will turn it over for any questions at this point. Okay, not seeing any questions at this point. So if there are, please feel free to follow up with the marketing team, and we'll be happy to assist you. And thank you again for joining us today. And yeah, appreciate your time.